Let's get started. So what you see on the screen is what we're going to be working on today. So by the end of this class, you're going to be able to go from a blank Excel workbook to this beautiful My Awesome Budget. You can create this yourself. Like we thought really hard to try to. We didn't want to do a spend down or something that may not be related to your jobs. So we try to pick the project that relates to everybody, which is you want to budget your own budget, right? So we're going to create uh, a budget and we're going to create graphs. We're going to be able to do filters by the end of this class. And we're going to see how we can create a budget here and bring everything onto a good summary that you can actually print out and it'll look pretty. So hopefully throughout the things I'm going to show you, making this project will help you do other things that you've been trying to do yourselves, or at least get you more comfortable with Excel. So let's get started with that. So the first thing you do with Excel is, so the first thing you got to do is start a new project, right? So you're going to go to File and New and a blank workbook. So I'm going to move this to my other screen so I can see it. So now what we have is a blank workbook. We're going to save it. And now the things I'm going to cover, you may already know. And this is the basic class. We're going to actually have an intermediate class with more complicated stuff. But I want to get everyone into a good baseline of how to use Excel, right? So we're going to call this My Awesome Budget. Also, at the end of this class, later today or maybe tomorrow, we're going to have a recording of this so you can watch it if you kind of remember me doing something but can't remember exactly what it is. You'll have a recording as well as a nifty little PDF of all the detailed instructions on how to create the project itself so that you can try it out on your own. And we'll provide that after the class. So all you have to do is pay attention. Don't be overwhelmed. If you miss something, you'll be able to catch it later. Or we'll give you resources to find it later, and then you can ask us questions, okay? So the first thing I want to cover is the ribbon. Now, you may already know what this is, but you may not use all the functionality, but Excel is pretty powerful when you know all the little functions such as charts over here, inserting charts, inserting pivot tables, which we'll cover in the intermediate class, formulas, how to view things differently, and the page layout, which is really what we'll cover in detail today, of how to make things look pretty when you print it out, basically, and how to actually check that and make sure it looks the way you want it to look. So we'll go over that today. So this is the ribbon, and I'm going to use things such as sections, like alignment section. And what I mean is, at the bottom of the ribbon, there's these little names called number, alignment, style. So I'll go like alignment section. I'm going to press certain buttons. When I say press, that means I'm pressing a key on my keyboard. And when I say click on, that means I'm clicking something on the screen itself. And I also do right click. I'll tell you if I right click something like this, like when I'm right clicking, right? Another good thing to know is that the ribbon here has all the functionality of Excel, but sometimes you'll have a lot of functionality when you right click and this little menu pops up. So it's kind of, if you haven't already, and you probably already do, but it's good to like see what these little options are when you right click, because that might speed up what you're trying to do. All right. So I'm just going through my instructions, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so we save the file. All right, we're gonna create different tabs. So the first thing I'm gonna do is create the tabs I need, right? So you can create a tab, another tab by pressing this little plus button on the bottom left corner. And now I have two tabs. I'm gonna change this to summary. And I'm gonna change this to activity. And we'll just start with that. We're gonna start updating the summary with, first thing we need is a heading, right? So my awesome budget, and then on B3, I'm gonna do for year to date. And don't worry, I won't be typing this slow the whole time. Current month, number, and let's see, I think we're gonna merge this right here. Now, how to merge cells is simply going up to home, alignment, and merge and center. Now, clicking that will immediately merge and center whatever you selected in those cells. But you'll also have other options I want to tell you about. So there's merge across. Merge across means that you're going to merge all the rows, but not necessarily. If you selected cells like this and clicked on merge center, it's going to merge all of that, right? But if you just click on merge across, it's going to keep the rows separate, but it'll merge everything on the rows. And you'll also have another option and if you want to unmerge, you can click on unmerge, right? So going on there, still doesn't look very good. I think I need to.
Joseph, there's a question about what merge means. Merge just, when you typically type, it will just center in the one cell, the one little box. And merge, Joseph would just merge the My Awesome Budget across like 4 different or 5 different cells.
Right. So the example is I'm basically clicking and dragging to the cell I want, and I want this section to be just one big cell, and everything else to stay the same. I'll just click on merge, and then anything I type will be in one cell. Okay. All right. Good question. So I think I want to make it bold. So I'm going to click on this B right here, and there's the font section, and then I'm going to change the size to what I want. You can see how it changes. So let's change to 16. Then we're going to make now we're going to make the sections. So on B's, so we need my income, and I'm just going to do a little magic to type a little faster. My income, and in B12, my expenses, and bottom line, because that's what matters, right? The bottom line. And then let's format these. So I'm going to select, I want to have like a little heading thing right here. So I'm going to select the cells I want. So I'm going to click here and I'm dragging. Another way to select is clicking here, pressing Control, and clicking the end, or Shift. Clicking Shift and clicking to the end of the cell you want. So while I'm holding Shift, this is what it's doing, right? So there's different ways to select, but you can just click and drag, and while you're holding the mouse button, and that will cover that. So we're going to, let's choose a color, let's call it black, and then will change the cell color. and this will change the font color. So now you can see my income. Now I could do the same thing to these and just, you know, highlight it and format it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the section I want to copy the format of and click on this thing called the Format Painter. So what this does is under Home, Clipboard section, there's a Format Painter. When you click on that, what you can do is copy the original format into the next thing, right? Another way of doing this is you can say I got two sections I want to copy the format to. I'll highlight this, double click the Format Painter, and then I can do it there, and I can do it there. So that's a nifty little trick. And then when I'm done, I have to, oh, wait. I just escape or click on the Format Painter to release that function. So moving on. So now we're gonna, I mean, this looks okay, but I know I'm gonna have a lot of different size kind of information and the columns aren't the size I want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight this. I'm gonna click, you see that little arrow right above the column? That's how you can select the whole column. And then you can right click and then do column width. That's one way of doing it. Or you can go here to format and then column width is right here. And we're gonna size that to 2. We're gonna resize this one to 26. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna reset column width 26. We're gonna change this one to 38. Wait, 38. Okay. And then these three are gonna be the same. So instead of going to each one separately and change the columns, since they're gonna be the same, I can click and drag and select multiple columns, right click, column width, and we're going to make that 13.5. And it's just because I know what's going to end up the result, so that's why I'm being so exact. Another way you can do it is by just, you know, adjusting it like this. You select multiple ones. When you change one width, it's going to change all 3. So let's change it back to 13.5. And then we're going to change this one to 2. All right, so next section. So now I'm going to do the we need some subheadings right here, right? So what I'm going to do, is copy, or I'm going to type in, pretend I'm typing this in. Categories, description, budget, actual, and variance, right? And maybe I'll change this category. So these are going to be our different things that we're going to put on this budget. So, and I want this to be on this section as well. I could just type it in, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go equal in the cell and click onto this cell. So what that will do, it'll just bring it, it'll copy, or it'll equal to whatever I say up here. So when I change this to say, maybe I want to change it to categories, it'll change this one as well. So if I decide to change my headings, I can just change this one and it'll copy to this one as well. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to do what they call paste formulas. Because this is a formula, I don't want to paste, you know, I could safely paste, but sometimes you want to just paste the formula and not necessarily the format. So what you can do is you can go paste and then there's a one called formulas. When you hover over it, And when you click on that, it'll just do the formula uh, without the formatting.
So Joseph, this might be a good time to explain paste special. I don't think these are in the notes, but what he just did is something called paste special. You can paste special formats, formulas, um, pictures, and I use that a lot because sometimes I will want to copy the formatting, but not the formulas and the data, and so you can do paste special format, or what Joseph just did was
Yeah.
paste special formulas.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different options. We're going to go through a few of them, but it might during the advanced class we might go through more specific situations. But let's see. Now another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format this. I'm going to bold it, underline it, and maybe change the color to gray. And then I'm going to center it under this alignment right here. So I'm going to click here. And I want to copy this format and I want to match it right down here. So what I'll do again is that format painter. And then I'll click here and then that should copy the format all the way over. Now, if I made a mistake, I can Control Z to go back and undo, or I can, there's other options you can try out, but that's the advanced class as well. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is put a grid. Wait, did I put a grid around it? Oh. So next thing I'm going to do is I need, the things under the categories, right? So again, I'm going to type this over. And when I'm saying I'm typing, I'm actually just Control-C'ing and Control. You can also go Control. This is values, so it doesn't copy. It's pasting values instead of pasting any of the formats I have from my other sheet. So if I just want the information and not the format from the other sheet, I'm just gonna paste it right there.
So Joseph, there was a question about how is paste special different than copy paste. So if you just Control C copy and Control V paste, you might be familiar with some of those shortcuts. What you're going to be pasting is everything.
Right.
And we don't always want to paste everything. So if you are copying a cell that has formulas and things, if you just do paste, it's going to paste the formulas, the format, all of it. And sometimes we just want to paste one thing.
Right.
Hopefully that makes sense. I'll type the answer too.
Yeah. So like she said, if I was just to Control V right now, it would copy the format from the other sheet, which I don't want. So I'm going to Control Z. I just want to go, let's see. I just want to go Control C and right click and paste values. And that will just put what I want exactly in there, right? Okay, so so now we're going to format the sections a little bit further. Wait, I want to put this income minus expenses here. So what I want to do further is let's put a grid around it. So I'm going to click and drag to here. And there's a thing called borders right here. Now you could choose the all borders option, just the top row or things like that, but let's dive into the more borders. Now how I got to that was I clicked on here and on the bottom is more borders. Click on that. And I do want a box around here. It's going to show this right here, like what you're actually going to, what kind of border you're going to use and what it's going to look like a little preview. And I want the little grid in the middle. So then I'm just going to go OK on that one. I'm going to do this. And then if I highlight this whole section and I press F4, is going to do the same thing I did to up here, down here. So F4 is a really useful tool where if you want to do the same repetitive thing to a different section, whatever you did last to the previous section, by pressing F4, it'll copy that format to the next section. Okay? So I'm going to highlight this down here, or let's finish this border. Now I want this border to be a little different, so I'm going to go here, do more borders. I want it thicker around it, so I'm going to put this big border around it. And then I'm going to go OK. And I want this section to be a little different, so I'm going to highlight that, go back to borders. And I probably want to put like a thin line in between, like that. And that will give you a nice, more logical way of putting the grid there. Now I'm going to finish up this formatting. I'm going to bold this. I'm going to gray it. And I'm going to do gray, bold. This one is going to be, gray, bold. See? All right, so next thing I'm going to do is put some sum formulas on here. So to sum, the sum formulas you're probably already familiar with, but I'm going to show you a couple little tricks. So you're going to go equal, and instead of clicking, I'm going to press the up arrow button, and then I'm going to hold the shift button and press the arrow button again, and then that will highlight the section I want to sum. So when I press equal, oops, wait, I have to type sum, and then up, and then shift, and then up again, and press enter. And I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste. I'm going to go ahead, Control V, and then I'm going to do the same here. So equal, sum, up arrow, shift, and arrow all the way there, press enter. Another way of doing that is going equal, sum, and then just highlighting the section you want to sum, like clicking and holding and dragging, right, like that. And I'm going to copy that and Control paste formulas. So now we have the totals for, let's see, that doesn't look like the right format. So I'm going to change this format with this little $sign. That will change it to an accounting formula or accounting format. So under this number section, there's a $sign, and there's different currencies, but you know, it's automatically done to default to American dollars. And then I'm going to F4 to do that there, and F4 to do that there as well. Okay, so now I just need to finish this one, which is going to be equal. I'm just going to click here, my income minus my expenses. So I'm going to copy that, paste, paste, Control V, Control V. Okay, so this is pretty much done. Let's see what else. Make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so now we want to do the budget. Like this is the summary, but we want to be able to input our budget somewhere, and we're not going to input it here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do here later. But my budget's going to look pretty much like this without a couple columns and stuff like that. So instead of redoing this whole entire thing, what I'm going to do is copy this tab. Now you can copy this tab a few different ways. You can hold the Control key, you can click on this summary tab, and while holding the Control key, drag it to the end, and that will make a copy, right? Oh wait, what did I do? Another way of doing that is, if you don't remember that little trick, you can right-click and then move or copy, and then you can move it to the end inside my own workbook, or if you had another workbook to move it to or copy to, and then you want to create a copy, clicked right here. You want to create copy, and then you go OK, and it'll create a copy at the end that way too. And then we're just going to rename this to budget. Now you have this.
I was just going to say it's important to click the box that says create a copy, otherwise it will just move it. Especially if you're going between workbooks, you'll find that your original one is gone if you don't remember to click that create a copy button.
And you can also do multiple ones by clicking, selecting summary, and then doing control and clicking activity. You can actually create, or you can hold on control. You can drag it, hold control, and then create copies of both tabs. So multiple tabs. So there's no limit to how many tabs you can make a copy of. All right, so we're going to delete those. So I'm right clicking and clicking on the little delete sign symbol. Delete that extra tab, right? So that's done. So we're gonna adjust this a little bit to match what we want as far as just inputting the budget, our budget. So I'm gonna highlight this one and highlight this, and we're gonna delete these two. I'm gonna right click and delete these two tabs, these two columns. And I'm gonna select this row, and I want to delete that entire row. So we're going to delete that. And now we're going to format. We're going to copy we're going to input our budget. You can input your own budget, or I'm going to use just a generic budget from my sample. So I'm going to copy and paste here. And I'm copying and pasting values. This is just generic budget, but doesn't look right. It doesn't look formatted right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to format to accounting, the accounting format, so it looks a little bit more dollar-like. And then I'm going to change it to blue. Now the blue I want isn't here, so what I'm going to do is click on more colors. And I like this blue usually when I'm entering stuff in. So I'm going to click on this blue and go OK. And I'm going to do the same thing. Let me show you again. So now that I chose that blue, it's right here. But if I couldn't find it, I just go more colors and click here and go OK. So now I have the budget. So the next thing, so this is pretty much done. I'm going to put year 2020 here. Let's format that. So I'm going to click bold, blue, and center it.
Hey, Joseph, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to mention, if you all ever receive a spreadsheet as a tool from someone and you see the blue like Joseph is referencing, just in general, blue, as he mentioned, tends to mean inputs, things that you are going to put in. And then formulas usually are set up to be black. And so those are cells that you don't touch. That's if you're receiving a spreadsheet as a tool from someone and you see blue and you're wondering what that means.
Right. So what we're going to do next is the activity tab, which is this tab right here, which is where we'll input all our information. And don't feel overwhelmed. This is just generic information that I put in, but we're going to want to put the headings of each of the categories on top, and we're going to want to total everything on top and also add filters. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, I know that's a lot to cover so far, so I like to take a little break and give a little joke. Is everyone ready for a little joke? Yeah? All right. So I found some Excel jokes. So how do you keep in contact with an Excel user? Anyone know? You can unmute yourself if you know. Not if you heard this joke already from me, you can't. That's just cheap.
Oh.
Anyone know? You call them. Get it? Call them. Yeah. I don't think that was good enough, right? That wasn't a good enough joke. Okay. All right. So what did the baby Excel cry? Why was the baby Excel crying for? He couldn't find his dada. Get it? Huh? All right, good. All right, back to the class, the more exciting stuff. All right, so we're going to create this activity tab from scratch. So what we want to do is, as you can see here, we want the headings on top and across. Now, I could type this all in, but that would be tedious. So what I'm going to do instead is I have the headings are already here, all the categories, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this section, select it. I'm going to Control C to copy it. I'm going to come here, and I know we're going to start with D4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this paste, and there's a thing called paste special at the very bottom, right? So when I click on paste special, this little dialog pops up. Now there's a number of different ways that you can actually paste things. And you can try it out for yourself to find other things, but what we're going to do is we're going to paste the values because I don't want the formatting from the other sheet. And we're going to do what's called transpose. Now, transpose means that instead of everything was going down the Excel spreadsheet, but instead I want to go across. So to do that, we want to transpose, which is literally just flipping it over. So we're going to go OK. Oh, wait. Yeah. So now you can see that it flipped. Instead of going up and down, it's going to the right. It's going in one row. I'm going to do the same thing here, and you'll be able to see a little bit clearer. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to click on F4. And instead of going up here, I can right-click, paste special, just click that. The dialog pops up. You can do values, transpose, keep everything else the same, and go OK. So now you see I didn't have to type anything back in, and it's all the way across the way I like it, the way I need it, right? So I'm going to type in the rest of this. So date, description, categories, but everything's kind of bunched up. I don't know if I like that. So I think I'm going to change the formatting a little bit. I'm going to resize the columns like we did before. So I'm going to make this column 12. Right click, 12. And then I'm going to change this to 33. I'm going to change this to 12. And I'm going to change these. And these are all going to be the same. So I'm going to change it to, well, I don't know what size I want it to be. So let's change this by hand. So you see that I can change it by hand, all of them by hand. But I kind of know what I think I want these to be. So I'm going to change these to 14. Wait, is that right? 14? Yeah, okay. All right, so those are set. So now that still doesn't look right. So all these are going to have different formats. Like this is going to be a date format, and these are going to be accounting formats, and this isn't going to change. And this is just a break between the two different informations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this and change this to a date format. So under the numbers section, I click on this little drop down, and we're going to make it short date. And I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to leave this one the same because it's just general. I'm going to highlight this and make this gray. And I'm going to highlight these. These are all going to be the same accounting formats, right? So now that when I put in a number, it'll actually look like a dollar. And then I'm going to, another way of formatting it is, say you don't know what kind of format you actually want, it's not accounting, you can go up here to the number section, click on this little button right here. There's a tiny button in this little section, and it'll do a little pop-up dialog. Now you can change the currency, you can change the date, accounting, number, general, percentage, time. These are all where all the formats are. You can also have custom ones, which we'll go over in the intermediate class. But for now, we'll just do accounting. I want the symbol dollars symbol, and I want 2 decimal places here, right? So I go, okay. So those are all formatted properly. I think I didn't format, missed something. Did I? I'm just going to do it. All right, so we're going to format this row right here to make it look a little better and you can read it a little bit better. So we're going to highlight that row. I'll make it bold, underline, center it, and then this new button I'm going to show you is called wrap text, which actually makes it wrap around the cell so that you can read everything within that cell. And it'll expand the row so that's a little bit easier. So that's the wrap text button. Now everything looks a little big, and when I scroll over, I can't see the description. So what I probably want to do is freeze this section so that it stays the same. And when I have a lot of data like this, you know, like when I scroll down, I don't want to lose the headings. So how to do that is called what we call a freeze pane. So you want to make sure that the columns you want they remain showing are all the way to the top left, and you want to click where you want it to actually scroll across. So you're gonna, I want it to like pivot like right around here. So I'm gonna click on View, Freeze Panes, or Freeze Panes. So now when I scroll, and I don't know if you can tell, but you can, the rows are moving, and then I can scroll to the left and still not lose my data, my date, and my description. Okay. Now I want to zoom out a little bit, I think, so because it's a little big. So I'm gonna go down here to the bottom right, and there's these little scales where I can shrink it a bit. And by doing that, now I can see the whole page. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is add filters. So when I add filters, I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna do Control Shift to select it without having to use my mouse. I'm doing Control Shift right arrow, and then I'm gonna do down arrow, and that takes me all the way to the bottom of the sheet because I want everything to filter. So what a filter is under data, sort filter, and filter. I'm going to show you what filter is in a second. But what filter does is it adds this little menu items. And let me add some data so they can see how it works. So this is all my activity. So pretend you've spent 5 months entering all your transactions and putting them where they need to go. And now that you have this filter here, you can filter by the date. If you only want to see things in January and February, that will filter. So what I did was I clicked on the filter and I unselected all right here. And under January, I clicked on January. So I'm only going to see January. Everything that's unselected is going to be hidden, right? And then I click OK, and then it'll show me just the stuff in January. I can also do another filter here. Maybe I just want the electricity in January. So I'll click on electric, and I'll see just electric. Now to clear out of this, there's an easy way of doing it. You go to data, and right here under sort and filter, there's a clear button. so you can just clear it, and then it'll unclear all the filters. But maybe you only want one filter to be filtered, so maybe you wanted January, February, March, and you wanted electric, and you're like, okay, maybe I want to see all the electric for all the last 5 months. You click on the little filter, and you can clear from date, and then it'll show you all electric. All right, so that's a nifty little thing. So I'm going to clear the filters so we have all that. Last thing we need to do on this is add a total up here. So I'm going to go equal, and instead of sum, what I'm going to use is subtotal. Now subtotal, the difference is sum will sum everything down that you selected, even if it's hidden. But if you want to sum things that only the things that are showing, you want to use what we call subtotal. So subtotal, and you're going to have a little drop down that shows the different kinds of subtotals you can have. The one you want is 9, which is sum. And then I'm going to press a down arrow, hold onto my shift key and control key, and press the down arrow. And that's going to select everything to the bottom. I'm going to keep on pressing my arrow key until I get to the bottom. And I just press enter, and I have a subtotal. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to do it and copy and paste to the right. So now I have subtotals for all the different columns, and now I know how much is all the way down there. And a good useful way of doing that is maybe I want to see my expenses for January. So in January, you see that the subtotal changed to just show what's for January, what's showing, and nothing else. Okay, so let's clear that filter. Now these are the totals. So now we have our budget, we have our activity. Now what we need to do is bring it up to the summary and do a graph. And I can do that in 15 minutes or less. All right, so what we're going to do is, first thing what I want to do is bring in the budget. So I'm going to equal our monthly budget. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is our monthly budget. Sorry about that. We're going to change that. And you see that I changed that right now, and it changed it here. So if I forgot, I don't have to worry that this will be different. So now I have the month. Now this is just the monthly budget, right? So I have this little thing here. Let's do 2020, and let's see. Current month is May, so that's 5. And then I'm gonna center everything. I'm gonna bold it. I'll make it blue, and then so that's 5 months. That's not the budget for the year to date of 5 months, right? I want the full year to date budget. So I have the budget in there. So I'm going to multiply it by this 5 and press enter. Now, if I copy, like logically, you'd think you could just copy and paste formulas and it'll be all okay. But what it's doing is, it's for every row that it goes down, it changes the C14 to the next row down. So it's going to keep on populating. So you start with C4, but then this goes C5, jumps to C10. It's going to keep on jumping. Now, the way to freeze this is if you highlight the C4, and press F4. It'll add some dollar symbols, C and the 4. And when it does that, what you're doing is you're saying, I want, for every time I copy this formula down, I'm going to keep that one part of the formula, I want to keep that the same. If I was to make it C, a regular C with no dollar symbol and 4, a 4 row, that means that if I copy things to the right, it's only going to change the column, but not the row. And if I have it C with no $4, every time I copy down, it's going to change the row, but it won't change the column.
So you can think of the $ as kind of like an anchor, and so it's going to anchor to what you're trying to do. If you use the $2 it anchors to one particular cell.
And it's a little bit of concept to try to get, but once you get it, what you can do is when I press enter and I copy and I paste the formula down here, you can see that the C4 doesn't change, right? And when I copy and paste down here as well, formulas, you see that it doesn't change here as well. Oh, I think I forgot to add formulas. The format here. I'm going to format this real quick.
While he's doing that, I was going to say another thing, that if you receive a spreadsheet from someone and you see formulas and you're trying to understand what's happening, another thing you can do is click on a cell and hit F2, which will see how he did that. It'll highlight the cell that it's referencing. If it's on the same page, you can see the little box around the cells that it's pulling from. And sometimes that's helpful to try and unwind what's going on.
And also you can, if there is a little blue box, you can actually move this little blue box somewhere else, right? All right, so now we have our budget in. Now how we get our activities in. Now it's going across, so I can't copy and paste because when I copy and paste it down here, what it did was it changed the budget cell and it went down the row because it's formatted exactly the same, right? So it's copying the same information. But this one works a little differently where it's going across, which I can't do that necessarily, but there's a little trick to it. You can click on View, go New Window, and basically it's creating a new window on the top. Let me see here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little :2 after the name of the second window. But I'll show you what it's doing. What you do is, next thing you do is go to Arrange, go View, Arrange All. Let's make it vertical, and we only want to make I want to show things side by side for only the active workbook. I'm going to click OK. So now I have a side-by-side view. This is the first window, window 1, and this is window 2. It really doesn't matter too much, but I'm going to go ahead and change it this way. Let's arrange all again. All right, that's better. All right, so what I want to do is bring in all these sums that I have up here. I want to bring it into these cells. So I'm going to go equal, and this is the thing that's going to take me the longest today, because actually I have to actually do it. So what I'm doing is equal, clicking the cell that I want to match up with or want to bring in, then clicking enter, equal, G, enter. And I'm just going to go through, there's not too many, so this shouldn't take too long. Equal, utilities, equal, subscription, equal, groceries, enter, equal, medical, equal, dining, equal, other discretionary spending, equal, debt payments, equal savings. It's nice to have savings. Equal other. All right. And you notice on the right-hand side, this new window that I created, it didn't keep my freeze frames, right? Now that I have all the information here, I can close the second window. But when you do this, be careful. The one you want to close is the one that says 2:2, because you want to keep all this formatting that you worked so hard to put in, right? So by closing 2, I don't need that window anymore, and then I can still have my old formatting. All right, so Next thing I need to do is I'm going to go a little faster. So I'm going to go equal. The last formula I need is the variance formula. So I'm going to go equal, let's see, actual minus budget will give me the variance for that. So I'm going to copy, paste. Oh, wait, I pasted the format. I should have copied and pasted formulas. All right, copy. And then I'm going to paste formulas. Wait, I can't paste formulas there. I need to go equal. For expenses, you want to go budget minus actual to get the proper way the variance. And then this one is actual minus budget. All right, so there you go. I have my budget, but what I can do now is my budget versus my actuals, and I'm saving money, which is good. So I want to see what I might want to do is see this visually, like how I'm spending, because it's all just numbers right now. So what I'm going to do is come here. Let's add a chart. So I'm going to highlight categories all the way down to other. Don't bring in expenses because you don't want, it will already total up, so you don't need that. So monthly, I want this column and this column. I'm going to go up here, go insert, and then there's a thing called charts. There's a little thing called pie charts, and we're going to do like a simple 2D chart. So we already have a chart, but I don't want this particular chart. I want it to be percents, so I'm going to click on quick layout, and this one looks good. So this has the label and the percentages that I want. Great. And it shows basically shows my monthly budget. So I'm going to change that here. And then I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to highlight categories, not the total. And then I want this one to show the actuals. And then once I got that highlighted, I'm going to go insert, pie chart, boom. And then that's going to give me the chart. Again, I don't like that chart. I'm going to make it percentages so I can see the percent I'm spending in each category. Now, I could stop here, but I probably want to make it look prettier, right? Does everyone want to make it look a little better and print it out? Because you can't print this out, right? So what I need to do is go to what we call a print preview or a page break preview, which it'll tell us how it'll print out in pages, right? So this little blue lines and the little dotted line shows like how many pages, like page 1, page 2, and as I expand out here, it's going to keep on, like, I don't know why it's doing that. So I want to print a certain way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to go to page layout, click on the little options, little button here. Oh wait, I have my chart selected. Let me click on here again, and I'm going to go, I want to stay portrait. I want it to fit, one page wide and one page. I want to do exact page, so I'm going to leave that blank. I want it to be centered horizontally. And there's a bunch of other options we'll go into the intermediate class, but that's all the options I need right now. When I go okay, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to mention really quickly, it's a great idea if you're sending a spreadsheet to someone to review to have it formatted for print. I mean, most people are reviewing on their screen, but you never know when someone is going to want to print something, and it's just kind of a nice thing to do for your end user to have it formatted nicely.
Right. So I'm going to go file. I want to see what it looks like printed. So I'm going to go file, print, and it's going to show, oh, that doesn't look right. So I think what we'll do is I want this pie chart to fill the whole bottom of the page. So So what I'll do is I'm going to drag these bars out until I get to the bottom of the page. Let's see if it'll work. You see this little dot line? It goes to page 2. I just held this blue line until it showed me that little dotted line. And now I know what the bottom of the page is. I'm going to drag this up a little bit. And then I'm going to grab this chart. I'm going to resize it because now I know where the bottom of the page is. And then I'm going to preview it again. Make sure my chart isn't selected. Okay. And now it looks a lot better, right? So now it looks pretty, really pretty when you're going to print it out. I'm going to do the same here again so you can see how I did it. Basically, I'm going page layout, portrait, one wide. I'm going to keep that one blank so I can figure out the size of the page. I'm going to make it centered horizontally. I'm going to go OK. And then I'm going to bring this down here. And then I'm going to click on this little, there's also a page break preview button down here, down to the right. And then, all right. So this didn't capture my last cell, so I'm going to just drag it to the right here. And I'm going to make this a little smaller. And I'm going to delete that last page. And now it should preview. Great. So now that looks good. And then I'm going to make it normal. All right. So now I have my budget, my activity, my summary. Let's make this normal. Now, one last trick I want to show you before we end is I'm going to highlight this, go to the right, highlight that all, and then I'm going to do what they call home, format, and hide columns so that I don't need any of those cells showing on the right. I'm going to click on this, Control Shift down to get all the rows, format, hide rows. And then I'm going to view, take away the grid lines, and now you have like a really visually pleasing Excel project book that you can do. And we're going to provide this as well as the exact instructions I went through, as well as if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and Amy for if you had any questions throughout this class or as you're going through it to make your own awesome budget. Please feel free to reach out.